Good day, everyone. My name is Shewa Kinlowa. I'll be talking about abandonment, and I've decided to make it a series with regards to migration. Abandonment can come in different forms. One, a parent can feel abandoned. The other one, spouses can feel abandoned, especially when the other person is back in their home country. Children can also feel abandoned. Families can feel abandoned, which may result into loneliness and other things. So I would like to look into each one of this, and I'll be creating short videos to talk about abandonment. What does abandonment mean with regards to migration? It's like, let's say, an act of leaving someone. It could be temporarily or permanently, based on the decisions they have both made or the decision one person has made for the other person. And that's why usually when it comes to abandonment, it's usually one person that makes the decision. So let's say, for instance, when it comes to marriages, the woman can say, oh, I don't want to live with my husband. You stay there, I stay there. But in most cases, it's usually the man or the men that dictates how the house runs. And if you look at it, really, it's not really ideal. When you talk about, being in a marriage relationship, you both couples have to be together to make the marriage work, to make the children involved productive. There are also marriages who don't have children, and both couples can work together to grow their lives in whatever capacity they want. I remember the scenario, or not one, two scenarios growing up. I remembered there were two particular women living in the same estate with me but far away. There was this particular woman that she was always moody. She was a pious woman, going to church, being in church services. She was always there. And one day I went to the house, I just saw a picture, and the daughter said, oh, that's a father. And I was like, when was the last time you saw your dad? About 19 years. And I'm like, God, how can this thing be? 19 years you've not seen your dad. And funniest thing was that the same thing happened to me as well. I had a similar situation. I didn't see my dad for almost 19 years, from age 5 up until age 24, going to 25. That was when I saw my dad. So, and as a child, I didn't really know what that really meant for those women. What is, what it means not to have the other person being present, and she had and she had children apart from the girl that I knew at the time. And so, but looking back now, I would say that moodiness probably, is depression. Imagine a woman and her children just staying alone. Not that the man is dead, but that is somewhere. And sometimes, as time passed by, I realized that sometimes it could be due to the other spouse, maybe the man in question, maybe not having papers abroad, which means not having legal stay, and for such men to come back home will be difficult. And I've come to understand that sometimes it's not even the case. It's just that the men just don't want to live with their wives, and they don't want to say it. And sometimes it's like an emotional, how do I say it, abuse. I will use that word, emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is the act of abandoning someone by neglecting their emotional needs. Emotional needs can come in different ways. That act of being present, that act of doing things together, that act of sharing love together. In many capacities, emotional needs to be met between husband and wives. And sometimes abandonment can actually mean silent treatment for some people. There are people who have been caught up in this web of silent treatment. Okay, you're my wife, I'm your husband. If you offend me, I'm not going to talk to you. And that means they both deprive themselves of their emotional needs, which is a form of abuse. Sometimes when people talk about abuse, people always think about the physical aspect where, the man beats the woman or the woman beats the man, and the man can't really even say anything, is shy. Would people believe that my wife is beating me? Or the woman, is shy to even talk openly about the abuse she's facing because people would say, yes, you did something, it's your fault. And a lot of women have been caught up in this web. A lot of men also, they've been caught up in that web of, like, your wife beats you. How can that happen? So let me continue with the abandonment. So that kind, we can talk about physical or domestic violence, which is physical abuse. But this emotional one actually eats up people. It eats them to the core of their soul. It's indescribable. It's very hard. It's a form of punishment that it will take years to get healed of. I tell people, who are maybe in any abusive relationship, I used to say that, see, sometimes you think it's just one time. Many times it even runs through generation, and then it can become a pattern for the children. It causes a lot of damages, even untold damages, untold hardships that people can't even talk about. It's very hard. Well, I hope that we'll be able to, like, help people who have been abused emotionally, let them see the good in themselves, because many times these women who have been abandoned, emotionally abused, can't even think of any good thing about themselves. Many times they wait for the other person to make decisions because he is the husband, or the women, or yes, or the women make decisions for their husbands because they are better off, they are more financially stable, so it doesn't matter. So they dictate how the house will flow. So, but that is not what God wants in marriages. God wants two people to come together as one, having vision for their lives, having common purpose. People could have different visions, but the most important thing is that they glorify God with their vision, they honor God, in their lives, in their homes, and they are able, the most important thing is to conquer the world. And that's it. Abandonment can be very subtle in nature. It actually starts like, okay, you wait 1 month, you will join me. Like I've said, I'm talking about migration in this aspect. I'm not talking about other aspect of life, but just about migration. The man can say to his wife, you wait, and then when I'm ready, when I'm settled, I would take you to where I am. And before you know it, 1 year would become 1 month, sorry. And before you know it, 1 month will become 1 year. 1 year would become 2 years. 2 years will become 3 years. In the case of that story, that example I shared earlier on, before you know it, 19 years, and they are not together. They are still together, really. They are still married, but there are no emotional needs met. They are physically detached, emotionally detached. They are estranged. In most cases, I realize that the men are able to move on with their lives. They enjoy their lives whichever way they want to. But the women are the ones most time that bear the brunt. They are the ones that bear the brunt. Depending on how the dynamics of the relationship is. And why I said so is that if the man is the one that has abandoned his wife, he would have moved on. If he does not move on, he has ways of enjoying himself. Whereas the women in question, they are just hoping, trusting that this man would come back home. And so how do people, go about living their lives after they've been abandoned? I want you to understand that it's very tough. You can seek for help. Many times in our society, women don't really seek for help because they are afraid people would share the stories. They are afraid that people would talk about them. They are afraid that people would blame them. They're just afraid of everything. And that's where the damages, lies more. And that's why the damages, go on. And that's why the damages penetrate their souls, because they are not able to share anything. they are just quiet. They feel betrayed, they feel let down by people, even people who don't even mean harm to them, because they've been kept in that cycle. And their their automatic mood is like that. If anyone looks at them, they feel, oh, maybe this person is thinking about me. And sometimes you can't even ask about how are you. And that's why sometimes even the how are you can even cause a lot of damages to them, because they've been damaged. And that's why I hope that people in this situation would seek for help. Let me talk about the second story, of the women I knew growing up. I knew somebody else as well. And we growing up, we're always afraid of the particular woman. And this woman is very strict, is very strict. But well, but I realized that it's not, because there was no way she could handle children, boys, girls, without her, having without her having to man up, because she has become the father and she has become the mother. Many times we don't talk about the situation, and usually I see that for women involved in this situations, people always just look at them like, oh, this one is enjoying, her husband is abroad, and it's a lie. It's a lie. It's all that. No, that's what people want to see, and that's what they see. But whereas deep down in the heart of those women, they are not enjoying, they are suffering. Even the children can't even explain what they are going through. And it becomes circle. Maybe for instance, the woman keeps shouting at the children because she's frustrated, she feels abandoned. So how can these issues be tackled? I really want people to know that abandonment is very wrong. It destroys people, it destroys children, innocent men, innocent wives. It destroys people altogether, it destroys families. And depending on the way you look at it again, what we call abandonment may not be abandonment for somebody else. I remembered an elderly man said to me one time, said, when he traveled with his wife, many years after, his children said, Daddy, you neglected us. And he thought he was doing the best. It was an era where, people would travel out, leave their children. They either live alone, or people just, bring them into their own homes and they are looked after by a family member. I would want to employ people to please, look at the state of their heart. If it's possible, reunite back with their families so that people can begin to heal of the damages. For some people, the abandonment is actually beyond their control. It's because of visa issues. It's because maybe perhaps they are illegal migrants and they can't go back home. And the woman is there. The children are there. Oh, where's your dad? My dad is abroad. And before you know it, it becomes a circle. Where is daddy? Daddy is abroad. And before you know it too, those children too, it's okay for them to leave their families, because that was what they grew up with. That was what they saw. And that's why I said many times, all of these issues becomes a pattern. And people can say, oh, it's a cause. The father also left. Now he is leaving now. And I hear women say, oh, I don't care, I just want my husband to excel, let him travel, I don't mind staying. And because of that, a lot of families have been disrupted, shattered. How healthy is your own family? Have you abandoned your own family? Have you abandoned your spouses? Have you abandoned your parents? Are you meeting their needs? Needs can come in different forms. Don't abandon people. Abandonment is bad. It destroys. Thank you so much.